I wasted almost a decade of my life. Don't make the same mistakes as me. It's unnecessary. There's a simple habit that if you do daily will ensure that you live a good life every single day and avoid having regrets in the future. And that's what I want to share with you in this video. It was my birthday about a month ago. And around that time, I was reflecting upon the past few years, trying to remember what I had done. And I realized that I wasted almost a decade, an eighth of my life. It's huge. And I could have prevented this from happening by doing one simple thing. And you can be sure that I'm doing it right now. So I'll tell you what it is in this video, but first I just want to give you a bit of context so that it all makes sense. I spent the past 7 years focusing on one goal, building my business. And for most of that time, I was not even making any progress on that goal. I was basically going in circles for most of those years. But what's worse is that while I was pursuing or chasing that goal, I forgot to live my life. I did not give attention to almost anything else in my life other than building my business. I did not nurture my relationships. I did not do anything exciting or not that many things. When I think of the past decade, I don't have many memories. But I do remember telling myself during those years, very often, I'll do these other things later when my business is doing well. I thought it would only take a year or maybe 2 to reach my goal, but it took much longer than that. And so for about 7 years, I basically postponed living my life. And you can be sure that I'll do my best not to repeat the same mistake and not to waste another decade. And the solution is actually quite simple. It's called value-focused living, and it has 3 steps. And it's what allows us to live a good life every single day. Step 1, identify your top 5 values. It sounds easy, but it can also be a bit tricky. What are values exactly? Your values are what you consider being the most important or the most meaningful in your life. They basically are your personal beliefs about what it means to live a good life. They can be things like honesty, curiosity, self-expression, courage, connection. A value can also be something like family, but it will be more specifically how you would want to show up in the context of family. Our values shape how we live our lives. They determine our decisions and our actions, our behaviors, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously. For example, your values may determine the kind of people you surround yourself with, or how you spend your time, or the kind of work you do, the environment where you live, and how you spend your money. So they play a critical role in the outcomes you get in life. And we don't just have one value, we have several values. I recommend identifying your top 5 values because when we base our decisions on just one value and discard the other ones for a long time, then we risk feeling dissatisfied and even have regrets in the future because we're not nurturing the other things that are important to us. We're not living a balanced life. That's what happened to me when I focused only on building my business and not on the other important things in my life. So my business or my work is my value of doing my life's work that I'm passionate about and that's aligned with my purpose. It's a very important value to me, but it's not the only important value. I'll give you another quick example. So I had a workaholic client recently. That's kind of a sad story, but one of his colleagues suddenly died of a heart attack about a month ago at age 50. He was overworked, he was exhausted. And when that happened, my client had a wake-up call. One of his top values is doing quality work. And he was working about 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, because he wanted to provide quality work for the organization he works for. But by doing that, he put aside his health, his family life, his hobbies, pretty much everything else. And when his colleague passed, then he realized that his health and his family were actually very important to him, not just his work. And because he has high blood pressure, then he got concerned. So he started giving more attention to his health and the other things that were important to him. So focusing on just one value for a long time can create an imbalance in our life. And that's why step 1 of the value-focused living habit is to identify our top 5 values, not just the top 1. So I'll put a list of values on the screen if you want to use it as inspiration. I'll also put links to value quizzes in the description below that you can take if you want to get more insights about what your values are. And I'll give you a few questions right now also to help you identify your top values. So, what do you need in your life to feel fulfilled? What's missing in your life to feel fulfilled? That's a similar question, but with a slightly different angle. How do you like to spend your time? What would you like to have more time for? How do you like to spend your money? If your life ended right now, what would you regret not having done, accomplished, experienced, and become? What would make you say that you've lived a good life when you're 100 years old? Step 2 is to list ways to honor your values. For example, to honor or nurture my value of spiritual growth, I can read a few pages of a spiritual book. I can meditate. I can do some journaling. I can practice gratitude, or I can also do a lesson in the text A Course in Miracles. So I recommend making lists for each of your values, and these lists will be helpful for step 3, which is to honor your values every day. The last step is the value-focused living daily habit. Every morning, you can choose at least one thing that you'll do that day to nurture each of your top values. I like to write these actions in my journal. So first, I write down my top values just as kind of reminders. And then for each one, I say what I will do to nurture it. And it doesn't have to be very complicated. For example, for my value of meaningful relationships, I may just write a nice comment on a friend's post. For self-care, I may go to a yoga class. For purposeful work, I may film a YouTube video. This simple daily habit makes sure that we give attention to, that we nurture the important things in our life. Every single day, even when the day is not perfect, we're more likely to have a good day and a good life because we focus on the things that matter to us. I also made a video recently about the 4 true goals of life according to ancient wisdom. I think it'll complement this video very well, so I'm going to link it somewhere on the screen and also in the description below. And thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that you may try this new habit. Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I wish you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and I'll see you next week.